Welcome to Rose Colored Radio, Mediumship Mixtape. I'm Linda Heithaus, certified empathic medium, and I'm here with my good friend, radio personality, Julie Guy, and we're doing our first podcast today on all things mediumship.
Hi.
Hi, Julie.
Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your podcast because
Well,
let's be honest, you're the star of the show, Linda. You really are. And I'm just so grateful that we know each other, and I'm so grateful that we can put out all the things that you do to help others grieve, heal, and move forward in their life. And more importantly, I think what you do that maybe you're not, I mean, I'm sure you do know this, is that you allow people to kind of make peace with death, if you will, because everyone has a different idea. Everyone has a different thought process on what happens, hell, heaven, all of that stuff. So we're going to dive into all of that, or as much as we can on this first episode, but many, many more to come.
I'm so excited, and I've been getting a lot of signs I have guides and a lot of just pushes and impulses to tell these stories and to talk about this. And I'm just so grateful that you're here with me, Julie. We have such a deep connection, and we're going to
We
talk.
do. We
Your
do. And it's not a coincidence. And so I want to just start at the top. Everybody always wants to know, when did you know you had this gift? How did you know this is what your life path was? And it's so amazing, your story, and I know it obviously, but I think once people get to really know who you are and how you got here, I think they're going to be amazed at why this is your path and why it's so. I really believe you were chosen to do this. That's just my thought process. But anyway, explain to everybody how this kind of all happened.
So I was born with this incredible gift of being able to see and hear spirits or people who have crossed over. I don't actually like to use the word death. I use the word transition and I'm going to explain a lot more about how I work and how I receive. But to me, they are very alive. And I know that sounds contradictory, but that's how I experience them. And I'm going to explain more. I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia. So Julie and I are both fellow Canadians. And
Woo!
I grew up outside, and I was always around nature and whales and bears and hiking.
Ah,
And when I was
that
7,
sounds beautiful.
my dad took me whale watching off Vancouver Island, and the very first whale I got up close to, that experience impacted me so much. That was the day I knew I'm going to grow up and be a marine biologist. And I never faltered from that path.
How
And
old were you when that happened?
I was 7.
7 years old. Okay.
Saw my first whale. And long story short, I went to university and I got a Bachelor of Science degree. And right after I graduated, my dad got sick. And about 6 months later, my dad died from a very aggressive form of melanoma. And he was my hero. And the day he died, I literally felt like I was falling through a black hole with no bottom. And was how I experienced grief. And I started to wonder, where did you go? How could you be here? It was my first real experience with death on such a deep level. And I say that's the beginning of my story to becoming a medium. My dad was an atheist, so I really didn't have any religious upbringing or spirituality. I mean, I was taught that there was nothing after, and I got a science degree. I was trained to think logically. So the fact that I ended up in this role, my path was not linear, and it was quite bumpy. But I'm so grateful I figured it out, and I'm here because it is the greatest gift of my life. And I truly feel like this is what I was put on earth, and this is what I was meant to do. So I started looking for my dad for signs because I wanted to believe. And the first year he passed away, we took a wreath to his grave. He died in November, so it was the holiday season, and we were standing at his grave, my sister and I, my mom, my brother-in-law, and we put this wreath there, and we're all standing there. And my dad owned a gravel truck, and he sold it a couple weeks before he died. His gravel truck drove by at that exact moment that we were all standing there, and my mom goes, "Oh my gosh, it's Dad's truck!" And everybody's freaking out, and I'm standing there going, "What just happened? Like, is this really a sign?"
Mhm.
And I was 25, and I really didn't know I was seeing and communicating until I was in my early 40s.
Wow.
Yeah, Julie, did you grow up watching Poltergeist or any of those, classic horror movies?
Which still scare me to this day. Yes, and we're 80s child. We're children of the
Right.
80s. So yes, of course.
So I thought that this was you'd have to see them as a ghost, and I was very afraid. I was terrified, literally terrified of this. It's not that at all. It's so subtle that I just didn't recognize that I was communicating with them.
So I think we've been conditioned, obviously, society as a whole, right? Religion, no matter which religion you are, you can be Christian, Catholic, Jewish, atheist, which is no religion, scientist. So there's just all these belief systems, and they're so ingrained with who we are. And we have almost, we believe them. Like, this is what it is, with no real, like, way to, no fact, no way to like back up what we're like, this is what it is. So then when you have this gift, which you absolutely have, I have been witness to it, and I have friends who've been witness to it, and you are remarkable and incredible. And I could give you 1,000 different accolades and adjectives and whatever. But when that happens, it is a constant, like, prove yourself. What do you mean? And yet we never ask that of these religions. And this is not a slam to religion, by the way. I believe whatever gives you comfort and hope and relief and peace and anything like that, by all means, embrace it. But what I'm saying is the fact that you had this incredible gift and you constantly doubted your abilities and you're a scientist, it's kind of funny to me. I almost think like the universe was like, haha, we're going to make it so that we really make it that you do like a 180 from your whole path that you think you're going on, and then you marry a scientist. You got to tell us about that because, first of all, your husband is quasi famous. He's
Yes.
always on TV with sharks and various animals.
Yeah, that's how we met. My husband is a research scientist, and he did his PhD on tiger sharks in Western Australia. I've been there. He and I love to dive with sharks all over the world.
Sure, that's normal.
And he films Shark Week, but on National Geographic Channel, so it's called Shark Fest. Um,
Amazing.
we fell in love over our mutual love of the oceans and wildlife. And when I figured out that I was seeing and communicating with people who had passed away or crossed over, it was uncomfortable for me and for him. There was just this delicate dance we had to do, and how many wives can say to their husbands, I'm going to totally change careers. I can see dead people. I can talk to them, especially, and telling a scientist this. And I said to my guides or my team on the other side, if we are going to do this, because I work as a team with them, we have to be good. I will not be judged or, was my goal. And it
So,
worked.
okay, hold on. So, what did he say? Was he like, you're crazy? Or did he step, because he knows you and he knows that you are illogical. I mean, scientists are known for their logic and their, the cause and effect, and you got to have, the hypothesis and all that stuff that I vaguely remember from science in high school and college. But I mean, what did he say to you? I mean, he had to have known that you wouldn't just say that.
I had been experiencing things for years that I couldn't put my finger on. I would wake up at 11 o'clock at night. Like Mike always reads books and I fall asleep first. I would wake up and there'd be somebody standing beside my bed. I'd open my eyes and somebody would be standing there and I would
Like
scream.
a visible human form, or
Yeah,
was it an energy?
no, like looking at a person, but that's how I experience spirit. They're like they look human, clothing like
Okay.
a hologram.
Okay.
And I did it, of course, I didn't know what it was happening to me, and
Right.
I'll explain more about how when we sleep, it's easier to see them. And he just said, "I'm so glad you figured this out because I'm glad you're not gonna scream anymore or be afraid." It scared me. I know. He's always been incredibly supportive.
You see, I truly believe that nothing is a coincidence. And I think that that's why you met, to have this support system. So, okay, we're going to backtrack a little bit and go to the first time you realized, you said you were in your 40s,
Mhm.
that you said, I have to do this. Like, give me that moment, that scenario. What happened where you were like, that's it. I know, I'm done. I'm going to go here now instead of here. What happened?
I remember that day like it was yesterday, and it was such an incredible pivotal day in my life. I went up to Parkland and I met with some of my girlfriends and we kind of talked about cuz I lost my dad and they lost people. We talked about it and I kind
Sure.
of started saying and I had seen a medium years ago about my dad and that was a transformational experience. Once I saw that medium, I knew that there was something there. I didn't
Right.
understand it. So my girlfriend Pooja walks up to me and we're having a get together, girls' lunch, and she goes, I just lost my friend Danielle. Can you see her? And
How did she know to ask you that?
well, we had talked about how I could kind of see my dad,
Okay, I
where
see.
I was, thinking that I was seeing people but didn't understand it. So
Okay.
we
So
just,
she felt safe to ask you that question without being like, "Ha, what are you talking about, you lunatic?"
yeah,
Right,
she's
right, right.
so sweet, and I think her friend Danielle was young, she was in her early 30s, and I think she really wanted to and she had just died, and she really wanted to know that Danielle was okay. So she asked me, and I say to Pooja, "I don't know, I can't see her now, maybe later," but I had never intentionally done it before. So I came home, I went to bed, and as I was falling asleep, I remember seeing this young girl just in my room, and and this happens all the time, so it wasn't anything unusual, but it was the first time that I realized, I think this is a spirit, because I just thought everybody saw people.
My gosh.
So this is innate for me. It's part of who I am. It's as natural as breathing. So I paid attention to her and it didn't feel scary. And I kind of watched her and I fell asleep. And the next day was Sunday and it was my day to sleep in. My husband got up with the kids and she came back and I recognized her. This is the girl from last night. So I decided to get a pen and paper and I wrote everything down that she showed me. Do you know the Macarena dance? This?
Yes,
Yes.
of
She
course.
did that. She spiked a volleyball. She showed me a necklace. There was a few other things, and so I wrote it all down, and I texted Pooja. I said, "Pooja, I think I saw Danielle. Can I call you later?" She said, "Okay, call me tonight." All day, I could hear so I can hear them speak. They sound just like you and I are talking, but it's interfering.
Right.
And I remember I was cleaning one of my bathrooms that day, and I heard, "I can't believe I got fucking bile duct cancer." And I thought, who is swearing? So anyways, when I call Pooja, I tell her everything. The Macarena she did Danielle had gotten married, she did that dance at her wedding, she was a volleyball player, Pooja had given her a necklace, and she literally used to say, "I can't believe I got bleeping bile duct cancer," because it's an incredibly rare cancer, and she got
I
it young,
know.
and Pooja and my other girlfriends, Jen and Kelly, especially Pooja, she said, "Linda, this was so helpful. I told her family, I think you need to do this. You brought so much peace." And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I had heard of a mentor, my mentor, Shirley Ryan. She lives in California. And I really didn't have a goal of becoming a medium. I just wanted to as a scientist, I wanted to understand what I was seeing, what I was experiencing. So Shirley and I met and I decided to start taking her spirituality classes. She has this spirituality development program and I met with her weekly and about a month later, the shooting happened in Parkland. That's the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High
We're
School.
very familiar with that here in South Florida, yeah.
Yeah. Valentine's Day 2018. I hadn't even taken the mediumship classes yet, and I got a phone call. My friend teaches there. She was in that building and she knew about my gift. And I gave her some messages and she passed my number on to some of the families. And I started volunteering with them less than a month after. And I wasn't really trained. I just wanted to help so badly. And
I almost think that's good.
I was meant to be, it was meant
I
to.
I almost think because you are so kind and good, and I know this because I know you, but you are. I mean, your intentions are so pure, and you're a mom. No, that has a lot to do with it. And you get it. And I do believe that Danielle was purposeful. She was purposeful. Your scientific background is purposeful. And MSD, I mean, it still resonates so much here in South Florida. And one of your very best friends now
Mhm.
came out of that horrible situation. And her son is a constant part of your life.
Yes, his name is Joaquin Oliver, and his
So
beautiful
gorgeous. So gorgeous, that kid.
yeah, he's incredibly handsome, charismatic, funny, demanding, large life with a smile that lights up my whole room. And his beautiful mom, Patricia, we're gonna have her on as a guest one day.
I'd love that. Love to meet her.
Yeah, and there's a whole story behind how we met, and we'll tell that one day, but I didn't even know who she was when I went to channel him, and I actually asked her to leave the room. because I thought she was just there for like a coworker that she lost. It's quite the story. But
Okay, we will. What a great tease. We will have to come back with that for sure.
he it was when it was orchestrated to be that way, because had I known that she was his mother, I wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have been too sad. Again, I'm tuning into a spirit frequency. I'm a radio station, and I'm tuned into spirit channel. They are broadcasting around us all the time. I'm just tuned into their frequency, which is higher than us. Remember, we are in these dense human bodies. So I'm raising my frequency or my vibration to connect with theirs. And when I'm sad, it doesn't work. So I had to train myself to work in these incredibly sad and tragic readings. A lot of mothers who've lost children, and be up
Can't
high.
imagine. I
Um,
can't imagine.
it took a
So how
long.
do you that has to be a method that you had to cultivate. I mean, how? Because I can't go to the Humane Society. I can't go to the Humane Society. I can't because as a mother slash animal lover, I want to adopt every cat, go to every dog. I can't. So how do you separate that? How do you do that?
I truly think I was meant to train. I mean, my as
That's
I
where the scientific part of you comes in.
as I was taking these classes, Shirley said, if you're going to be a medium, and clearly that was where my strengths were. She said, you're going to have to do a ton of practice. It's like learning a new language, spirit. They're very fast. Picture it like you're swimming and you go underwater and they're in the deep end. Anything they show is just a burst. It's a burst and you have to catch it, and it has to be meaningful. And they use symbols. So I had to really kind of come up with my own symbols. If I hear coughing, somebody has passed from COVID, lung disease. If a spirit does this, they point to their heart. It's, I had a heart attack. And so I did all of that. But back to your question about how do I not get sad? Whenever I'm connected with a loved one who's crossed over, a child, there's such an incredible feeling. They are never sad. So if I just focus on them and not or anybody I'm working with who's grieving, if I go to a child and say, I'm going to use Kylie as an example because I've channeled Kylie. She died at 4, but she is this sparkly, funny little girl. Okay, Kylie, let's knock your mom's socks off. What do you want to show her? She walked up to me, and Kylie walked up, and she had her hand like this, and I put my hand out, in my mind's eye, and she dropped a bead into it. And I said to her mom, Trace, how do you connect with beads? And she said, oh my gosh, Kylie. So Kylie had a heart transplant when she was a baby. And whenever she would have a surgery after that, Joe DiMaggio would give her, it's called this beads of courage. And she, out of these beads. So, so the bead is validating, I know my story, and my mom will know what I mean. But to me, a bead doesn't mean anything. I have to go back to her. And it just feels so incredible to be connected to them. It's like being in the front row of, okay, Taylor Swift. I've done that. I'm a huge Taylor Swift
Front row. Good for you.
fan. And do you know, you've been to concerts. I think everybody can say they've been to concerts. What does it feel like when you're in a stadium full of 70,000 people, and everybody, and it
It's a
just,
high.
it's a high.
Especially if it's your favorite artist, right? There's this high, you can't wait for the first note. It's very exciting. And I love that music is such a big part of your, I guess translation is the way we will talk about it. Because you love music so much. And when you were saying about frequency, the first thing I thought of is like a dog, right? You know how they say there's a dog whistle and we can't hear it, but the dog can. I kind of felt like that's what your inference was. And I think music is a frequency. And what song means to me is going to mean so different to you. But, like you and I have had that exchange about songs, and that's wild in and of itself. But I love that music is what you use a lot to get your message across. Because, like you said, everybody listens to music. Most people have been to concerts. So you can relate to that. So, how does that happen for you? Like when you're sitting in front of somebody, let's say for like me, when you sat in front of me, there were so many great songs that came through that they all resonated with me. I think that's wild.
So think of my brain as like a Rolodex, right? All of the songs and all my memories and everything that I have learned in my life, spirit uses that to communicate with me or through me. And because music is such a big part of my life, I am always listening to music. They know that and they'll use that. So I'll give you some examples. I did a reading last week and I was waiting for a spirit to appear. Usually they come in and I see them. They'll put their face right in mine and smile. Nothing happened, but I heard New York, New York. You know that song by
Frank Sinatra.
Sinatra,
Right.
spreading the news.
Right.
And I said to my client, I said, "This is what I'm hearing. Are you from New York?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, my mom sings that song, used to sing that like every single day." So a lot of times spirit starts with entry music.
That's awesome.
Yes. But
I
what
love that. Here's my song as I come into the room.
Yes, but it's twofold. What they're also doing is raising my vibration because music, they're helping me.
So that's good. So let's take that now and I'm going to ask you, how do you prepare? Someone makes an appointment with you. You're either meeting them like this or in person or whatever the case may be. How do you get yourself ready to take in? I mean, it's a lot. You got a lot of energy, a lot of different people, different illnesses. Like, how do you get yourself ready?
Julie, the one and only thing that I ever need to do, because I'm a really always on with spirit, your loved one, your dad. Can I tell your dad's story? Because the
Sure.
pistachio story. So
Sure.
Julie and I had an appointment. I was going to channel her dad on a Wednesday morning. And
Hmm.
Tuesday night, I was sitting in my kitchen, quiet, and her dad is just standing in my kitchen. And I said, "Hi, Augie, what are you doing?" And he casually was throwing pistachios. He's leaning on my counter like this, casually throwing pistachios in his mouth. And he goes, "I'm just waiting for my daughter. Just waiting to see her because I love her." So I said to
I
Julie,
love how you got the Italian accent in there. I
right?
like that.
But accents come through.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I said to I texted Julie, I said, "By the way, your dad can't wait to see you. He's here early," which happens all the time. They're so excited to talk to you. They come early. So that's the preparing. And so I sent you this message, and what did you say about the pistachios?
I eat pistachios every single morning at work. So I do a morning show. And so you can't really like eat breakfast. So I just snack all morning and I have a little baggie of pistachios. And I love them because they're just quick. I'm hungry. I pop a few in and I do my thing. And when you said that, I mean, I just knew. I'm like, nobody knows I mean, my coworker knows that I eat pistachios, but how would you know that I eat pistachios in the morning? So and the irony with your friend, with Danielle, that came to you, your first kind of introduction to this is what I have to do. She had bile duct cancer, and my dad had bile duct cancer. So when you told me that story, I was like, wow, this is where I need to be sitting right now and it just went from there. It just went from there and the music and all of that. And you and I had an instant connection. But yeah, and then my dad continues to apparently bother you. And I'm sorry. He did that in real life.
That's a big question I get is, doesn't this bother you? I am really never alone, but if let's just say I'm in Target going grocery shopping. No, I don't see spirits everywhere
You'd have a
unless,
long line of people walking behind you.
well, that happens on an airplane. You wouldn't believe how
Oh
many
my
spirits there's these
gosh.
airplanes, and they're like, tell her. And I don't because you have to be so careful
Oh
with
my
it.
god, yeah, you would freak people out.
Yeah, unless
Not me, I would probably be like, "Oh my god, tell me more."
But I guess what I wanna say is the biggest thing for that I do to prepare is just to have intention. And this is for everybody. This is, if I intend to connect with your loved ones, most people that come to me, I only know their first name and I can it works through Zoom. People are kind of shocked by that it works over distance. It works the same as if somebody's sitting in the room with me. The readings are just as powerful and beautiful because we're all connected.
Again, I think this is why it's so important you're getting this out because we have preconceived notions. Why would they be surprised? Why? Do they know any different, better? Otherwise, it's almost like we have no idea. We immediately want to think it's not real. We immediately want to think it's bad. Why? And you know what? Let's just play devil's advocate. Let's just pretend you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm just playing because you do. You know what? And I do. And someone else says, "You're crazy." I don't really care. I feel better when I leave you. I am like floating on air the whole rest of the day because I genuinely feel like I had a conversation with my dad and my mom and whomever else. You've always channeled a million people, more people than I even knew was going to come through that day. But so to me, it's why if it is not bothering you, I feel like it's a fear thing. Like everyone is so afraid you're channeling the devil. You said yourself, you think there's no hell. Can you
Correct.
speak to that?
I have been doing this all my life and intentionally doing this for 9 years. I have I've never seen anything dark. I've never seen anything scary, never felt bad, and people will say, "Well, how do you know it's really them?" I mean, that doesn't really happen anymore because I get such specific things that, I even get their names. I mean, if you had to guess somebody's name,
No, you're
statistically,
so specific,
yeah.
Linda. You have given me, you're very specific. You may not always know how to pronounce them, especially with people who are different cultures. I mean, you live in South Florida. I'm Italian, you have Hispanic, you have Russian. We have so many different cultures. Like, how are you going to know how to say all those names?
Well, I actually have spoken other languages. I don't know how to speak correctly. And I have a really beautiful story about one of the Parkland kids. His name is Nick Dworet. Nick was 17. He was a swimmer. He wanted to go to the Tokyo Olympics. His lovely parents, Annika and Mitch Dworet, invited me up to their home and I channeled Nick for them. And, Annika is Swedish. She was born in Sweden and I have Danish background. So I kind of recognize that dialect a little bit.
Right.
And I said to her, I'm hearing another language. I'm going to try and repeat what Nick is saying to me, but I hope I don't botch this. And I started to say, else, yeah, else. And she finished me. She says, yeah, elskade. Yeah, elskade. And I said, what does that mean? She goes, it means I love you in Swedish. And I tell Nick that in Swedish. And so that is not, I don't know how else, those are
You're going
the
to make me cry.
those are the moments where I go, "Oh my gosh, this is real." Like, it's
Yeah.
better than I ever thought it could be, this things I get. And then Nick took out a can of whipped cream and, like, squirted it into his mouth like that, and they said that he used to do that. So, we are the same there, we're just missing our human body. We do the same things except and we're gonna talk more about what mediumship is and what it's not, and when we leave our physical body, we only take love with us. So that's the only thing I can download is love, joy, any message that's meant to help you laugh in readings. This is a healing gift. This is the way that I've cultivated this gift. And I'm so grateful that I was trained because, I have people come to me and they'll say, "Oh, I went to this person and she said all these bad things and I felt awful after, she said my loved one hadn't even crossed over. They were stuck." And it just angers me because that is not true. Everybody goes to the same place. We all transition. We all go to heaven or the afterlife. All are with, source or God or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it's just the
That's
most,
huge what you just said. What
yeah,
you just said is pretty huge because it debunks a lot of very ingrained thoughts. I don't even know, practices, rituals, beliefs, all of that. So I think we need to end on this note. I love that you said your intention is always about love. Anybody who wants to see you, come visit you, I can only speak for myself, but I know that everybody else that I know that has seen you says the same thing. They walk away feeling lighter, higher, happier, and feeling like they just got so much love from the person that they miss the most. So I think that's beautiful. And we are going to speak again and we're going to talk about some more stories. And I think it's important for people, if they want to ask you a question, we're going to find a way for them to get in touch with you, with me, and ask questions, because I think it's important that overall we just not fear losing the people that we love and where we're all going to end up going.
yes. And the one add-on I want to give, which is really important, is our loved ones can see us. And I think
All
that's
the time?
well, they pop in and out. They have lives there and things to do there. Don't know a lot about
Wild.
that. We're not supposed to, but they can see us, so they're still a part of our lives. If you have a baby and you've lost your mom at when you were 4, your mom knows all about that baby and it gets brought up. So I just think that's beautiful. They are
Thank you, because my mom didn't see my babies, so I often think about that.
uh,
Yeah. You're gonna help so many people, Linda. I think we need to have more of these conversations, if nothing else, just so that you walk away feeling like my loved ones are still around me.
absolutely. I can't wait.
Rose-colored radio will be back.